Welcome to the next episode of the Be Ready Utah PrepCast. I'm Wade Mathews, the manager of Be Ready Utah here at the Division of Emergency Management. Joining me today are Leann Fox, the Wildfire Prevention Coordinator, and Jason Curry, the Public Information Officer, both from the Utah Forestry, Fire, and State Lands Department of Natural Resources. Thank you for joining me today. And we are going to be talking about Wildfire Awareness Month, Wildfire Prevention Week, right? So let's begin. What's happening this month and the upcoming week?
That's right. This month is Governor declared Wildfire Awareness Month, but what we're here to talk about is Wildfire Prevention Week, which will be an emphasis on prevention methods that the public can take to prevent human-caused starts in Utah. However, Wildfire Awareness Month is more than just about prevention. It's about mitigation and preparedness as well.
And why is this so important for the public to be aware of and to know about?
Well, as we saw last year, wildfires can take homes. It's a dangerous trend that we're seeing, that we're seeing more and more wildfires. Half of our wildfires in Utah are human caused, and so we're making sure that the public knows how they can prevent.
And last year was a really severe year. In my history, it was one of the worst we've ever seen. But you might have seen worse.
It was absolutely, one of the worst seasons that we've seen, mainly because of the cost and because of the types of fuels that we had our fires in, the heavy timber, which are the most expensive kind. And we lost homes and huge impacts to wildlife habitat, air quality, water quality, and so forth.
Yeah, we call that wildland-urban interface, is that right? Where the wildfire is approaching residential areas, and there was a lot of that last year, right? Is that unusual, or was that just pretty normal?
In Utah, it's becoming more and more of the situation. There's more development, and anytime development increases, it means usually impacts and encroachment into the wildland-urban interface.
Okay, so you're kicking off Wildfire Prevention Week with a pledge, right?
That's correct.
And who's signing that pledge?
The governor has signed the pledge today, pledging to prevent wildfires, taking specific measures for him to personally prevent causing a fire this season. And you can find that pledge at SparkChange.utah.gov. And when you go to that pledge, you can look at a list of all the different ways you can pledge to prevent wildfires this season.
And that's what you want the public to do at this time, right? Go to that and tell us where that location is, the website.
SparkChange.utah.gov, and just follow the governor's initiative to sign the pledge, and hopefully all of Utah will sign the pledge and help us prevent wildfires this season.
Okay. All right. Now, speaking of prevention, what does that prevention look like? What can we do to prevent wildfires?
Well, we're asked this all the time, and there are a lot of human activities that can lead to wildfire. Anytime you're recreating or traveling or working in the outdoors, a lot of those activities can be a risk. So that pledge has a full list, but a lot of what we saw last year was fires related to equipment, and that is categorized everything from traveling in a vehicle. You might have a flat tire, you might have a muffler that's dragging or poorly maintained brakes. It might be a lawnmower, something like that hitting a rock and causing a spark, or dragging your trailer chains. All of those things are big causes for us along Utah's roadways, which is where a lot of our private land fires start.
We always talk about avoiding playing with matches and throwing cigarettes and that type of thing out. Are those still a common cause of wildfires? Unattended campfires, those types of things? Yeah,
unattended campfires is a big one. We continue to see, especially on our national forests, our Forest Service partners tell us it is a constant surprise to them that they come across fires that people have just left. And every single year we get later in the day, winds come up, expose those coals underneath, blow a few of the sparks and embers out into the dry grass, and then we see wildfires. So it's an ongoing problem that we're asking the public, please put those fires out. It's not hard. Bring some water, stir it up, make sure that it's out cold before you leave.
In addition to making sure you don't leave a campfire unattended, make sure you bring something to hold water to help put your campfire out.
A bucket, a jar, something, anything to get water over to the fire, right? And then cold enough that you can stick your hand over there, right?
Yeah, we say if it's too hot to touch, then it's too hot to leave.
Okay. All right, now a little bit about preparedness. There are things we can do to prevent, mitigate damage, right, for homes, for wildfire, and what are some of those things?
Yeah, so last year we lost several homes, and what we've seen is a little difference in as far as what the public perceives the risk to be and what the reality is. A lot of people kind of have this vision of a flaming front coming towards the home, and that certainly does happen. And a lot of times the best way to prepare for that is by putting in that defensible space. thinning your trees and other vegetation, making sure that you get rid of the ladder fuels, which is from the ground up to 4 to 6 feet above the ground. But really, most fires that destroy homes in wildfires nationally are caused by what we call the ember attack. Wildfires, when they get going and they get a head of steam, they can produce large embers that are up to an inch or more in size that are drawn up through convection into the air, and then they can travel laterally up to a mile in advance. And the larger fires that we saw last year, we saw long-range spotting. And if those embers happen to land in a rain gutter that's full of debris, or a wood pile that's surrounded by some dead leaves or other debris, there are a lot of ways that ember attack can take a home. Patio furniture is another one.
So even if that fire is not close, that risk is still there. Yeah, those embers are carried by the wind or the heat waves or whatever. It can carry those embers.
Exactly. So there are a lot of things that people can do that are really simple. Cleaning those rain gutters, inspecting your eaves and your attic area so that there is not a way for an ember to get into your attic or up under your soffit. Those areas, sometimes an ember will just get wedged in between, and if there's any flammable surface, it can smolder. Wood shingles are another big hazard. We see embers land on wood shingle roofs and get wedged in between, and then with wind, then we can have an ignition right on the roof.
And it's recommended 30 feet for that defensible space?
That's a good guideline.
Right?
It is a good guideline. It depends on the fuel type. Obviously in a large timber forest, 30 feet is not going to be enough. If you're just grassland, then it might be more than enough. So there are some great guidelines out there. If you visit fireadapted.org and firewise.org, there are some really good resources for the public to use to be able to gauge really what their need is and kind of put together a plan for their own property mitigation.
If I'm living in those areas, the forest and those types of things, that's the beauty of living there, right? Having the trees and the greenery and the shrubs and so on. And it's going to be hard for me to kind of want to clear that back, right? Yeah. But the risk is too great. It's better to do that.
Yeah, and you definitely don't have to clear cut your whole property. There is still a way to maintain that aesthetic and that beauty that you want around your cabin, and still reduce your risk and the overall hazard.
And besides the defensible space, what are some other things we can do for preparedness?
Cleaning up, part of that is cleaning up debris, cleaning up things around the home, wood piles, things like that. And then there's just the overall ethic of being ready if and when evacuations do become necessary. There's a program called Ready, Set, Go. And the ready part is having a plan, knowing what it is you're going to do if that evacuation does come. And that's something that you do several months in advance. And then being set, and that is knowing exactly what you're going to do, having the things that you need to have in place and the locations, and then be committed to going when the order is made to evacuate.
Okay. All right, great. Now, is there anything else, Leann, that people can do to get involved this month or this upcoming week? Sign the pledge, anything else that you'd like the public to do to be aware and to take part in for wildfire awareness and prevention?
Well, school is just about to let out, which means recreation is going to increase in Utah, and it's always a good reminder to make sure your tow chains aren't dragging if you're pulling a camper or a boat as you're headed out to recreate. As I mentioned before, bringing something to hold water in to put your campfire out, and just to visit our SparkChange.utah.gov pledge site and look at all of the ways that humans have caused wildfires and commit to preventing those this season.
Okay, and make that pledge.
Yes, make that pledge.
Sign that pledge like the governor did.
That's right.
Okay, well, thank you both for being here. Is there anything else you want to add?
Just one real quick one. One thing that public can do is visit a website called Utah Risk Assessment Portal. You can go on and individually see what your risk is, and it'll help you come up with a plan to respond and make yourself safer.
Okay, and we'll get those websites up on our screen there for people to go to those sites. And again, thank you for being here. Appreciate you sharing this and helping us be much safer here in Utah. Wildfire awareness and prevention. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Wayne.
All right, thank you for watching us. That's all the time we have today. Again, you can go to our website, BeReadyUtah.gov, our Be Ready Utah YouTube channel. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Watch for all of our previous episodes. And then coming up in our next episode, we will be talking about first aid. So thanks for watching.
Hey, hope you enjoyed this episode of the Be Ready Utah PrepCast. Like what you're seeing? Have a question about anything related to emergency preparedness? Or do you have a comment about something you've learned as you make a plan or get a kit? We'd love to hear from you. Comment or reply to us on Twitter or Facebook at Be Ready Utah with hashtag BRUPrepCast or in the comments on YouTube. We'll talk about it on one of the next episodes of the Be Ready Utah PrepCast. Don't forget to share these videos and your own adventures in preparedness with your friends, family, neighbors, and coworkers, because anytime is a good time to talk about emergency preparedness. See you next time.